So the next topic we have cash budgets. What are the cash budgets? Cash budgets basically they show what are the expected collections. We have learned how to draw up the projected cash collection schedule, PCCS, the cash that we will receive in the coming periods from our cash sales, from our credit sales collection, and what is the disbursement, the amount we will pay for the purchases, the amount we will pay for operating expenses. So cash receipts from projected cash collection schedule and cash disbursement from projected cash disbursement schedule will identify, will reveal whether we will have excess inflows than outflows. Inflows are more than outflows, or maybe our outflows are more than inflows. So when your inflows are more than outflows, that could mean you will have excess cash. And when you have more outflows than inflows, you will have a shortage. So what to do with excess cash? That is something you will learn in your CMA Part 2, Section B, Corporate Finance. What do you do with the surplus cash? Here you will learn how we will manage the shortfall if it comes, how we are going to arrange for the fundings necessary. So that's why we set up cash budget, to identify in which months, in which quarters we will have excess cash, and in which months or quarters we will have the shortages. And in fact, both of these, excess and shortages, how they are managed is a subject of corporate finance, CMA Part 2. So here you will just identify which months we have surplus cash and in which months we have shortages of cash. So now let's take the example. This is what we have already done, projecting the cash collections. Begcon Incorporated is a US retailer creating its cash budget for September. Mind the word, the month is September. Based on historical data, it assumes the following information regarding collections. 80% of the credit sales collected in the month after the sale, and 18% of the credit sales collected in the second month after the sale. We are quite comfortable with this collection pattern. We have done so many questions from this area. Then it says the remaining 2% will not be collected. That's the bad debt. All right. Now, it says this is the detail for July, August, and September credit sales. And these are the dollar numbers. And this is the cash sales for September. Calculate the cash collection for September. We have learned how to do it. The answer, Walaikum Assalam wa rahmatullah. That is the projected cash collection schedule. Now let's see how much cash do we expect in September. We will collect this 170,000 for sure, as it's a cash sales immediately collectible within September. Further, whatever we sold in September on credit, the inflow will occur in October. So this is something we are not going to collect even a single dollar from this amount. Now, what you sold in August, 80% of credit sales made in August will be collected month after sale, that is September. So 80% of August sale, if I calculate, it's going to be 925 times 80%, that is $740,000. And what we sell in July, 80% of it is collected in August, and 18% of this amount will be collected in September. 850,000 multiplied by 18, so it's 153. So if you add all these numbers, 170, 740, and 153, 170, 740, and 153, this is the cash you are going to collect in the month of September. So that's what we have already learned. So this is the projected cash collections, $1.63 million in September. Okay, let's just check this number from the cash budget. That's it, 1,063,000. That's the cash inflow in the month of September. All right, what about the cash disbursements? Cash inflows are few in number. Cash collection from credit sales, cash collected on cash sales, and sometimes we might have some interest received in cash, dividend received. So very far and few and far between. Mostly you will have cash and credit collections. but your outflows will be quite numerous, like in this case. To forecast this cash disbursements for September, Beckon divided its outflows into the following categories. Categories: direct material, you will pay 425,000 to for the goods to be purchased in August, but the amount will be paid in September. So this is one of the outflows we will consider. It's a plus sign. Direct labor, $310,000 to be incurred and payable in September. So it is an outflow. Plus sign means it will be added to the outflows. Overhead, 150,000 in actual cost to be incurred and payable in September. So this is the addition to your outflow. Operating expenses, 145,000 in actual cost to be incurred and payable in September. You add this number. Capital expenditures. Capital expenditure is a subject of capital budgets, and these involve investments in property, plant, and equipment. So you don't do that every year, normally 4 to 10 years, 5 to 10 years, and so on. So this is the amount you expect to spend in acquiring a piece of property, 120,000. So this is again an addition to your outflows. Tax payment, there is no payment in September. Remember, if there is depreciation expense given, depreciation is a non-cash expense, so it will involve no dollar outflow. And finally, dividends, 35,000 payable in September for the last quarter of the fiscal year. So this is the amount of dividend to be paid in September. If you add all these, 425, 310, 150, 145, 120, and 35, this will give you 1185,000 or 1.185 million. This is the this expected outflows in the month of September. So we have got inflows, we have got outflows. The problem for us is that our inflows are less, 1.063, whereas our outflows are more. So clearly, we are going to face a deficit in the month of September. And for this very reason, we set up cash budgets so as we can identify in which months we will have surplus cash and in which months we will have the shortages of cash. So we will have to make some arrangements. Remember, cash management is one of the most crucial duty of accounting department, or if it's a treasury functions. Most of the businesses, mid-sized businesses, accounting department manages cash. So this is the part of your job. You have to make sure that any shortfall is made up for, any surplus cash is used most profitably. Now, we will have to go for funding. We will have to go for some overdraft protection. We will have to go for some short-term loans. It says Beckon forecast a beginning cash balance for September of 80,000. This is the beginning balance expected in September 1st. The company would like to ensure that the ending cash balance is at least 50. That's what we expect to be as the closing balance. Unfortunately, our outflows are more than inflows. So we will have to go for funding. In order to accomplish this, it plans to borrow 95,000 at the end of September from its established line of credit. Line of credit basically is the term we use as overdraft protection in India and Pakistan. The overdraft protection or the overdraft arrangement is called as a line of credit in the US. So we will have to arrange for the line of credit at an annual interest rate of 6%. The first interest payment would not be due until October 31st. So it means there is no interest payable. Now, how do we draw up our cash budget? This is it. Everything what we have done so far is given right here. Beckon cash budget includes beginning cash balance of 80, cash collections of 1.63 million. This is the inflow we were expecting. So we will have 1.143 cash available. But unfortunately, our payments are more than what the cash available would be. Our payments are expected to be 1.85 million. So this shortfall of $42,000 has to be funded through overdraft protection or the line of credit. And that's the very reason we had to borrow, or we have planned for 95,000 borrowing. And this would result in ending balance of 53. And this perfectly matches with our policy to hold at least 50,000 cash balance. The company would like to ensure that the ending cash balance is at least 50,000. So borrowing $95,000 would mean that you will have $53,000 at the end of the period or end of September, which is sufficient enough to meet our minimum balance requirement. So that's what the cash budgets are all about. Let's do a few questions to further enhance our understanding. This question specifically right in front of your screen. This involves cash flow statement. And I'm sure most of you have done financial reporting, and cash flow statement is one of the most important areas where you are most likely to be tested on your final exam. All right, here we go. Holland Company is in the process of projecting its cash position at the end of second quarter. So instead of just using conventional cash inflows and outflows, you will have to use the cash flow statement approach, where you will start. No, this is not that question. I think that's the next question. That's the next one, where you have the net income to start from, and then from net income, you will establish what will be the cash change over the period. This is a straightforward question, not the one I was just talking about. So we have the opening cash balance, $36,000. This is the opening balance of cash at the end of the first quarter. We are in the second quarter. All right. So cash balance at the end of the first quarter, which will serve as our opening balance of cash. This is the opening balance of cash. What we have to find out from the data above, determine the Holland's projected cash balance at the end of the second quarter. Your closing balance is to be calculated from these expected numbers. So you have your opening cash balance, $36,000. Cash collections from customers from second quarter is clearly an inflow. Accounts payable at the start, $100,000, and accounts payable at the end, $75,000. This required some special treatment. Just put a star over them. It further says all second quarter costs and expenses on accrual basis, means 1.2 million is the accrued expense, not necessarily what you will pay. Accrued expense means the expenses charged to the income statement, not necessarily the amount you paid or you will pay. And it says depreciation, which is added to the accrued expenses, and we have already discussed that depreciation is a non-cash expense. So this 1.2 million is the total expense including depreciation. We must exclude depreciation from this number. We must deduct, right? So the number that you will consider is 1.14 million. Depreciation is not a cash expense, it's a non-cash expense. So it is removed from 1.2 million. All right. It further says purchase of equipment for cash, clearly an outflow. Gain on sale of asset for cash. You sold an asset and on which you realized a gain of 50,000 or 5,000. Let's put a star over it and we'll discuss it. Net book value of the asset sold. The asset you sold had a book value of 35,000. Now tell me, if you are selling an asset that has a book value of 35,000 and you made a gain of 5,000 on its disposal, what is the cash amount you will collect or you have collected? Excellent answer. If 35,000 is the book value and 5,000 is the gain on disposal, that means the cash inflow is 35 plus 5, 40. That's the cash inflow for disposal. And it further says repayment of notes payable, 66, negative. Now we have to settle these numbers marked in blue. Accounts payable opening balance, accounts payable closing balance, and the expense accrued. We can write this down in the accounts payable ledger control account, or simply the total accounts payable account. We have an opening balance of $100,000. Those who are from pure accounting background, they would know what I'm doing. This is the opening balance of your accounts payable. And this is the closing balance of your accounts payable, 75,000. Carry it down. During the period, the overall accrued expense is 1.14 on cash basis. If you find the balancing figure, this would represent the actual cash paid. Remember, opening balance of payables, closing balance of payables, plus the expense accrued, the difference, the balancing figure here would represent the cash paid. So it's going to be 100 plus 1140 less 75. That means you have paid 1165. This is the outflow. So all the numbers you have are now available. Take starting from 36 inflow, 1.3 million is inflow. Then all these blues have been solved as an outflow of 1165, then 50 outflow, then 40 inflow, and then 66 outflow, gives you a net balance of a positive number of 95,000. So this was a pretty longer question. You took individual items one by one, added all the inflows together with the opening balance and deducted the outflows. So this is the balance you will have at the end of the second quarter. From the data above, determine Holland's projected cash balance at the end of the second quarter, $95,000. That makes D to be the correct option. And D it should be. Next. Now this is the one I was talking about. The approach in this question is to take your net income and make adjustments in the net income to drive your cash flow. Steers company has just completed its prospective financial statements for the coming year. Relevant information is summarized below. Projected net income, $100,000. All right. Anticipated capital expenditure, it's an outflow. Acquiring property, plant, and equipment is an outflow clearly. Increase in working capital. If you purchase more inventory, if you increase more account receivable, that would reflect as an outflow. Increase in working capital is an outflow. And depreciation expense, as I told you, it's a non-cash expense. Those who have read financial reporting, they would know the depreciation expense, a non-cash expense, it is added to the net income to drive your or to arrive at your cash flow from operating activity. So you will take your projected net income. To this, you add the depreciation figure 15, less 50 for capital expenditure, less 25 for working capital investment. The number you get is 100 plus 15, less 50, less 25. It's 40. So the cash balance available would be, or what the question was, the increase in cash balance. This would be the increase in cash balance. 40,000 is not the closing balance of cash. It is the increase in cash balance. Now, let's say if the opening cash balance was $10,000, and as per this information, the business will generate $40,000 of cash from all these activities given here. So the closing balance will be 50, right? So this will be the closing balance. But what we have calculated, it is the increase in cash balance during the period. Answer: net income is always calculated on accrual basis. Remember, the US GAAP and the IFRS, they only allow accrual-based financial statements. Cash-based accounting is not allowed under the IFRS and the US GAAP. The net income you will see on financial statements, they are based upon accrual accounting. So we got our answer, it's B. Now, this is more like a question that can be considered as a right question for understanding the cash flow, the cash budgets. Now, this is quite an extensive question, right? Let's see. Kermi company has been accumulating operating data in order to prepare an annual profit plan. Details regarding Kermi sales for the first 6 months of the coming year are as follows. These are the sales figure for the coming 6 months. And this is the breakup of the sales. 20% is cash and 80% is the credit sales. It further says collection pattern for the credit sales are 30% of the credit sales collected in the month of sale, 40% the 1 month following the sale, and 25% in the second month following the sale. It further says Kermi's cost of goods sold averages 40% of the sales value. Your cost of purchase is 40% of your selling price. Kermi's objective is to maintain a target inventory equal to 30% of the next month's sales in units. So closing stock should be 30% of next month's sales in units. Purchases of merchandise for resale are paid for in the month following the sale. You purchase in Jan, you sell in Feb, but you pay in March. Purchase of merchandise for resale are paid for in the month following the sale. So if you sell the goods in Feb, the payment for those goods is made in 1 month after the sale, that is in March. It further says the variable operating expenses other than this. See, once you read all this information and then you read the requirement, you will be surprised that you wasted a lot of time. That is the point I wanted to make. I just saved still some time for you. It is always recommended to read the requirements so you know exactly what do we need. The amount of cost of goods sold that will appear on Kermes company's pro forma income statement for the month of February. In other words, we just have to find out what is the cost of goods sold budget for February, just the cost of goods sold. For this, we have all the required information. Look at this. It says the cost of goods sold is 40% of the sales value. If this is so, what do we expect to sell in February? 650. So cost of goods sold, budgeted cost of goods sold for February will be just 40% of February sale. It was just a one-line question and you had to read the whole question. So that's why I highly emphasize that you need to read the requirement first so you know exactly what do we have to calculate. So it's going to be 650,000 multiplied by 40%. So this should give you the cost of goods sold, and it is 260. C, Ross, you're right. C is the answer. Right? This is how you go about. Now, the total cash disbursement means payment that the Kermes company will make for the operating expenses other than cost of goods sold during the month of April. So what are the outflows for operating expenses in April? So if you're looking for April expenses, the same question. I don't need to see anything from here because it contains sales and the collection pattern plus the breakdown of sales, credit, and cash. I must be looking at the right side of the screen that contains the detail for expenses. So I told you, if you want to draw the cash budget, you need to know the inflows and outflows. And this is the side that requires us to see the outflows for operating expenses other than cost of goods sold. All right. It says on this right side of the screen, the variable operating expenses for the month of April, remember, the variable operating expenses other than the cost of goods sold for company are 10% of the sales and are paid for in the month of sale. Paid for in the month following sale. All right. Let us just highlight what exactly are we talking about here. We are talking about operating expenses, which are 10% of sales, and they are paid a month after sale. So we are talking about the month of April. Operating expenses will be paid in April, but they will be equal to 10% of March sale. 10% of March sale. So the first item I'm going to write is the variable operating expenses, which is going to be 10% of March sale, 10% of 700,000. So the amount is going to be $70,000. Next. The annual fixed operating expenses are presented below. This is the annual fixed expenses detail. All of these are incurred uniformly throughout the year and paid monthly, except for insurance. There is some adjustment in insurance, and it says that except for insurance and property taxes, it says insurance is paid quarterly, Jan, April, July, and October, and we are surely interested in April. That's why I marked it. And it further says property taxes are paid twice a year, April and October. So property taxes for the month of April also. Except these two items, insurance and property taxes, all other items are paid on annual basis. So let us calculate these one by one. First of all, the item we have is the advertisement expenses. Advertisement expenses. Okay, now what we just identified, your operating expenses, variable operating expenses were 10% of 700, that is 70,000. And next, all these are your annual expenses, and except insurance and property taxes, all are paid evenly throughout the year. Insurance and property taxes. So advertisement, which is 720, advertisement 720, this is for the whole year. You need to divide it with 12. This will give you the monthly advertisement, because we are interested to calculate the outflow in the month of April. So 720 divided by 12, it's 60. Next, depreciation. I told you depreciation is a non-cash expense. It is an expense charged against the revenues, but we don't pay any cash for it. So that's why it is not included in the cash expenses. Insurance 180. It says insurance is paid quarterly. This is the annual figure. And one of the payment is to be made in April, which means if this is the annual figure paid on a quarterly basis, so what you pay each quarter is 180,000 divided by 4, and that is 40,000. 45. Insurance 45. Then we have property taxes. It says property taxes are paid twice a year, in April and October. This is the annual number, so you need to divide it with 2 to get the amount you will pay in April. So it's going to be 120. Property taxes, P-tax 120. And finally, salaries. So this is the annual number. So you need to divide 1.08 million with 12. That will give you the monthly salary amount, 1,080,000 divided by 12. It is 90. Now, these are all the payments. This is the salary figure for monthly basis. Add all these up. You will have the operating expenses for the month of April to be paid in cash. So add all these: 70 plus 60 plus 45 plus 120 plus 90 gives you a total of 385, which perfectly matches with your option C. So this is it. That's why I said that it is very unlikely you will be tested on a comprehensive cash budget on the MCQs, because it is a lot of time. You have to identify the inflows and outflows and then go for the closing balance of budgeted cash flow, budgeted cash. So this is quite challenging sometimes. Yes, something like this is expected. Something like this can be done. Harrison Company has budgeted its operations for August. No change in inventory level during the month is planned. Okay, no change in inventory. Selected data based on estimated amounts are as follows. Net loss 120, starting from this number. Net loss 120. Increase in accounts payable. This is again the cash flow statement approach. If there is an increase in accounts payable over the period from the cash flow statement, it means we have held on to the payments to our suppliers. Delaying the payment to our suppliers effectively would be an inflow, so it will be added. Increase in accounts payable is basically an inflow. Depreciation expense, it's a non-cash expense, and I'm sure you know depreciation is added in the operating cash, in net loss or your net income, in order to arrive at your cash flow from operations. All right. Then it further says decrease in gross amounts of trade receivables. Decrease in receivables over the period would mean that the customers have paid you. Those who haven't done yet the cash flow statement, so please don't worry, you will be doing it in our next cycle when we will be doing financial reporting. Those who have already done it, this question especially for them, so don't worry. So decrease in gross receivables mean your account receivables, your customers have paid you, and that is the reason there has been a decrease in receivables. So this is effectively an inflow. Then purchase of equipment on 90 days credit terms. You purchase an equipment on credit, so it neither is an inflow nor outflow. So this is totally an irrelevant item just to confuse you. It has nothing to do with this. And the last item, provision for a warranty liability. This is again from financial reporting. Warranty liability, when we create warranty liability, it is not a cash expense. It's an estimated expense we charge against our income, just like the provision for bad debts. Just like provision for bad debts. So provision for estimated liability has increased over the period. So effectively, it's a non-cash charge, like depreciation is a non-cash charge. It is added to your net income or net loss. Similarly, provision for liability is also added because it's a non-cash expense. So starting with 120 negative, adding to it increase in payables, adding to it your depreciation expense, decrease in receivable, that means they have paid you, and finally adding 12 of estimated provision liability, that gives you 54. Answer, you're absolutely right, Waqas, correct. So your expected change in cash position is 54,000. It's a positive number, and that's the reason it's an increase. So you would go for option D. Okay, now this is a little offbeat, I would say. It's a little different question, unlikely to be tested because involves some twists and turns, most likely in CMA part 2, but let's just give it a try. I will just give you some tip how to handle a question like this. Now, Arrow Company's master budget was prepared based on the following projections. Our sales are expected to be 2.4 million. Our inventories are going to decrease by 60. Our accounts payable are going to increase by $100,000. Our gross margin is 40%, just these 4 items. And you are required to estimate the cash disbursements for inventory or the cash you are going to pay to your suppliers. So there are 2 approaches. One is little longer, make more sense to accountants. Other is a bit shorter. I will do both. Whichever you find comfortable with, you can go with it. All right, so let us try both first with the short approach. This is the figure for sales, and 40% is the gross margin. Inventories would decrease by 60. Accounts payable will decrease by $100,000. We have to estimate how much cash we are going to pay to our suppliers. So first, let's do the shortcut approach. First, we need to find out what is the cost of goods sold. It's fairly straightforward. If 40% is your gross margin, then 60% would be the cost of goods sold. Remember, gross margin, when you see the word margin, it means profit is based upon sales. 40% of sales is the profit, then 60% of sales will be the cost of goods sold. So your cost of goods sold is 60% of sales, which is 2.4 million multiplied by 60%, that is 1.44 million. Now a shortcut which we use in CFA, this will help you how to find out the cash paid to suppliers using this information. Otherwise, there is a conventional approach where we'll drop the T count and then we can find out the unknown. So how to calculate the cash paid to supplier? This is the quick way. Cash paid to supplier. You simply take the CGS. Please note this down. We have the CGS, the number given here. Clearly, it's an outflow. Any decrease in inventory is negative. Remember, decrease in inventory is deducted. Decrease in inventory is deducted. And if the inventory is increased, it is added. Increase in inventory is added. Similarly, decrease in payables is added. Is a shortcut. I will follow the conventional accounting approach also if you're feeling a little upset with this method. This is what we use in shortcut. Decrease in accounts payable is added. And increase in payable is deducted. Just a shortcut to find out how much cash we have paid to our suppliers or will pay to our suppliers. Just plug in the numbers. This is the CGS in negative. Decrease in inventory. Inventory has decreased over the period by 60. So you will write it as negative 60. Negative 1.44 million. There is no increase in inventory. And then decrease in payable. The payables have fallen by 100,000. It is to be added. If you add up all these, someone might have got the answer. Negative 1.440, negative 60. And to this we add 100,000. This gives you messed up. Just a minute. Okay. This negative sign needs to be removed. It must be plus. Rest of it is the same. So take 1440 is positive. To this, deduct 60 and add 100,000. This will give you 1480. So the payment to suppliers for the goods purchase is 1480. This, if this looks a little twisted, then you can use the conventional accounting approach. What you're going to do, you're going to break down your CGS into opening stock plus purchases minus closing stock, right? Forget about it. If you find it a little difficult, then just apply the conventional accounting approach, T account format. It will help you find out and get the right answer. CGS we have just calculated as 60%, 2.4 million. That is 1440. We don't know opening stock. We don't know closing stock. None of these are given. We have been given as decrease in inventory. And we have to find the purchase. From this purchase, we can find the payments made to our suppliers. All right. It says your inventories have decreased by 60. What would it mean? It means your closing stock is more than your opening stock. Decrease in inventory means your inventories have fallen over the period. Inventories, let's say if your inventory opening stock was 100,000, your closing stock is 40. That's what you mean by decrease. Decrease in inventory, opening stock and closing stock that differ by 60. Inventories have fallen by 60. So either you write these assumed numbers yourself here, opening stock as 100, closing as 40, or you simply write the net number 60 yourself. So just can assume any number. Opening stock could be anything. Closing stock must be 60 less than opening stock. Let's say I might take 200,000 as my opening stock. It has fallen by 60, which means my closing stock is going to be 140. So my closing stock must be less than the opening stock. So you can put opening stock as 200, closing as 140, or put opening stock 100, closing 40. So it will give you the figure for purchases. So take the first number, opening stock is 100 and closing stock is 40. That indicates the stock has fallen by 60. Solve this for purchase. This is one of the inputs, 1440 less 100 plus 40 gives you 1380. This is the first element. So your purchase is 1.38 million. Now we have to find out how much we have or will pay to our suppliers. For this, you need to draw up the T account, accounts payable, opening balance, we don't know, closing balance, we don't know. What we do know that we have purchased, I'm sure you know the format. Opening balance of payable is shown on the credit side, closing is on the debit side, and the purchase is on the credit side, which we have calculated to be 13800. Now it says your accounts payable have fallen by 100,000. Any number, you can take any opening balance you want. We just have to find out how much cash we will pay to our suppliers. Let's say, take your opening payables to be 500. You can take any number you want. Your payables have fallen by 100, which means your closing balance is going to be $400,000. Just like if your opening is 100, closing is 40, indicating a decrease of 60. Here your accounts payable have fallen by 100, so opening is 500, closing is 400. Or you may take opening is 150, closing is 50, right? And then you can find this unknown number. Very unlikely you're going to be tested on this twisted question this way, but I just want to make sure that you have done the deal. So it's 1480. So you get the same number using this little extended approach to find the balance of your the amount you will pay to your suppliers. So, gentlemen, I hope it made some sense. If not, then you might see the recordings. It's D. The next question is exactly the same. You can apply this, take a snapshot, put it in our group, and then try it yourself in the same way I've done the previous question. You can use the both approaches, the SMART approach in a single line, or you can draw the T counts and CGS breakdown. You can do it. Next one is more like a complete question on cash budget, where you will have to see the inflows and outflows all in one. So this is a typical cash budget that if you are tested, this is the question you will get. It's manageable, it's a little shorter. Now, Cooper Company's management team is preparing a cash budget for the coming quarter. What I'm telling you, this question is very unlikely. This is likely. This is very unlikely for cash budgets on your level of exam. So where do you expect such questions? On your essay section? Yes, on your essay section of the exam, you can have a longer question, and there are multiple parts to it which you have to answer. So if you are tested, if you are ever tested on cash budget, ever tested, this is the question you might be tested on. It's relatively shorter and it requires less computation. Cooper's company, mostly you would be tested on the projected cash collection schedule, how much cash we are going to collect in which month, and especially the production budget. These are the two favorite areas, but nonetheless, you should be prepared, should be ready from every side. Cooper Company's management team is preparing a cash budget for the coming quarter. The following budgeted information is under review. We have expected sales for Jan, Feb, March, inventory purchase for Jan, Feb, March, and other expenses. Fine. The company expects to collect 40% of its monthly sales in the month of sale and 60% in the following month sales. So whatever you sell in a particular month, 40% of its sale is in the month of sale, 60% in the next month. Means what if you sell in Jan, $700,000, 40,000 is collected within Jan, 60% in Feb. What you sell in Feb, 40% of this is collected within Feb, 60% in March. Makes sense. It further says 50% of inventory purchases are paid in the month of purchase and 50% in the month after that. So if you have purchased goods worth 350, half of these half of this amount is paid in Jan, half in Feb. What you buy in Feb, half is paid in Feb, half in March. Okay. If this is the case, all payments for other expenses are made in the month incurred. Other expenses are paid in the same month. 150 paid within Jan, 175 paid within Feb, within March. Okay. Cooper's forecast falling account balances at the beginning of the quarter. This is the opening cash balance at the start of the quarter. Account receivables at the start of the quarter. Accounts payable for inventory at the start of the quarter. Given the above information, the projected change, mind the word, change in the cash during the coming quarter. Is the cash going to increase or decrease? We just have to find change, not the closing balance of cash. So what you're going to do, simply write all the ins and outs in the quarter. Quarter includes your Jan, Feb, and March. Now listen to me very carefully. What you sell in Jan, it is collected within Jan, Feb. What you sell in Feb, it is collected within Feb and March, which means these two amounts are collected fully. These two amounts, 700,000 and 800,000. But what you sell in March, only 40% of this will be collected within March because we are talking about these 3 months only. So 40% of 500,000 means you're going to collect just 200,000 from the March sale. Now listen, what you purchase in Jan, half is paid in Jan, half in Feb. What you purchase in Feb, half is paid in Feb, half in March, which means these two amounts are fully paid within the quarter. Write these fully, 350, 425. And what you purchase in March, half of it will be paid within March. So it's going to be 225's half, which is 112, 500. Do not forget your account receivables, which were due at the start of the quarter, they would have been collected during the quarter. At the same time, your accounts payable, which were due at the start of the quarter, they will have been fully paid within the quarter. So this is taken care of. Sales and purchases taken care of. What remains now is the other expenses, and all of them will be paid within Jan, Feb, March. None will remain due. 150 within Jan, within Feb, within March. So just add all these up. 150 plus 175 times 2, it is 500. Now just add up all your outflows, 500 plus 500 plus 112, 500 plus 425 plus 350. Gives you a total of outflow of 1,887,500. And what are your inflows in the quarter? 700 plus 800 plus 200 plus 300. So your total inflows are 2 million. Now listen to me very, very carefully. The question says, what is the change in cash during the period? Change. You will receive 2 million during the period and you will pay 1.875 million during the period, which means 2 million less 1,887,500. 112,500. Your inflows are more than outflows by 112,500. So this basically would be the change in your cash balance during the period, because your inflows are more, your outflows are less by $112,500. This is the change in the cash during the period. Now let's say, not required, we got our answer C. Let's say you're required to find out what is the closing balance of cash. It's very straightforward. If $100,000 is the opening balance, and we're going to increase our cash balance by 112,500 during the period, then our closing balance must be 212,500. So be very careful about the requirement, what is required. If the question says what is the closing balance, you simply add the cash change in the opening balance. Or if the question says just calculate the change, you just take all the inflows versus all the outflows. See, that's crucial. Yes, exactly. 100 is going to 212,500. Answer. Opening cash balance is $100,000. So it's going to be 212,500. All right. So that's it. C is the change in cash balance. Now we have a good question here again that will require you to calculate all the inflows and outflows and find the closing balance. Now, Monroe Product is preparing a cash forecast based on the following information. If the January beginning cash balance is 30 and Monroe is required to maintain a minimum cash balance of 10,000, how much short-term borrowing will be required at the end of Feb? That means we will prepare a combined account of Jan and Feb. Jan and Feb combined. Okay, it says the opening cash balance is 30, brought down balance is 30. Let's write down all the inflows and outflows. Monthly sales for December is 200, Jan, Feb, March. All sales are on credit and collected the month following sale. Purchases are 60% of the next month's sales and are paid for in the month of purchase. Purchases are 60% of next month's sales and they are paid in the month in which you make the purchase. And other monthly expenses are total 25, and out of which 5,000 is depreciation, which means if 25,000 is the expense, and out of this 5,000 is depreciation, which is a non-cash expense. So effectively speaking, we will take just $20,000 as your outflow for expenses. All right, so let's plug in the numbers and see what is the closing balance or how much short-term borrowings will be required at the end of February. All right. Remember, all sales are on credit and are collected the month following sale. We are talking about the inflows for Jan and Feb. What you sell in December, you collect in Jan. So this $200,000 will be collected in Jan. What you sell in Jan, you collect in Feb. So this 200,000 related to Jan sale is collected in Feb. So this is December sale. This is the Jan sale, and then there is no inflow. Now listen, it further says purchases are 60% of next month's sales and are paid for in the month of purchase. Now listen, what you purchase, what you expect to sell in Feb, 350,000. You will purchase it in Jan and you will make the payment within January. And what is the likely payment? 60% of 350. So the first payment you are going to make is the purchase for February sale is 350 and our purchase price is 60% selling price, that is 210. What you're going to sell in March, you will purchase this in Feb and make the payment within Feb. What's the payment? 60% of $400,000. So 400,000, 60% is going to be 240. So what you sell in Feb, you make the payment in Jan. What you sell in March, you make the payment in Feb. So these are the two payments you will make. And then other monthly expenses are 20,000 only, excluding depreciation. 20,000 for Jan and 20,000 for Feb. So the total 40,000 would be paid. So what is going to be the situation now? We have 430 on the debit side, opening balance plus inflows, and we have 210 plus 240 plus 40. We have 490. 490 is an outflow. Now this is a problem for us. This is the problem for us. Our inflows, including opening balance, is 430 only, and our outflows are 490. As per the requirement, we must maintain a minimum balance of cash of 10,000. Our closing balance, carried on balance, must be 10,000. So in order to keep 10,000 balance, you must meet the shortfall by taking loan or the short-term financing. This is an important question. These are the inflows, outflows given. Our closing balance should be at least 10,000 at the end of February. So in order to keep this closing balance, how much loan do we need to take? You need to write this as a balancing figure, and it's going to be 10 plus 490 less 430, 70. You need to borrow $70,000 in order to make these payments and still have $10,000 balance at the bank. So that makes B to be the correct option, right? So you can write it in this format if you like. inflows, opening balance, less outflows. Nonetheless, you will get the same answer, shortfall that you need to do. Now, this is again a good question, somewhat similar to the question we have just done. So just to revise the idea, the Mountain Mule Glove Company is in the first year of business, which means there is no opening balance of cash. Mountain Mule had a beginning cash balance of 85 given for the quarter. The company has 50,000 short-term line of credit with the bank. The budget information for the first quarter is shown below. Sales, purchase, and operating cost. All sales are made on credit and are collected in the second month following sale. Now, this is interesting. What you sell in Jan, you don't collect in Jan, you don't collect in Feb, you collect in March. So sale made in Jan will be collected in March. Sale made in Feb will be collected in April, which is beyond the time we are discussing. Purchases are paid in the month following the purchase. If you purchase in Jan, you pay in Feb. If you purchase in Feb, you pay in March. Purchases are paid in the month following the purchase, while operating costs are paid in the month that are incurred. So these amounts are paid in the same months in which you are seeing them. It further says how much will Mountain Mule need to borrow at the end of the quarter if the company needs to maintain a minimum balance of 5,000. Your approach would be the same. You're going to combine Jan, Feb, and March. Opening balance is given as 85, brought down. Your only inflow will be this 50 because what you sell in Jan will be collected in March, and Feb sale will come in April, March will come in May. So it means just this 50 will be an inflow. And what you're going to pay, Jan purchase will be paid in Feb. Feb purchase will be made in March, paid 40 in March, and the March will be paid in April. That is beyond the period we are discussing. And these 25, a total of 75 would be paid within the quarter. So if this is the case, our inflow plus opening balance is going to be 135. And our outflow is 35 plus 40 plus 75. It's going to be 150. Our outflows are more than the inflows. What you should do, what we have just done, our closing balance should be at least 5,000. So we just put desired balance here. So the balancing figure would represent how much borrowing you will have to do. You will have to make how much borrowing. So just add these up, find the balancing figure. So it's going to be 150 plus 5, just like the previous one, less 50, less 85. So that means you need to borrow something I don't get here. 35 plus 40 plus 75 plus 5 less 85 less 50. 20. I need to borrow 20. But I don't get this number here. What exactly did I miss? 50 inflow, 85 opening balance, 35, 40, 75 related to these payments. It says operating expenses are paid in the same month. Operating costs are paid in the month that they are incurred. So this is the total amount, 75. The closing balance has to be at least 5,000. Need to borrow at the end of the quarter if the company needs to maintain a minimum cash balance of 5,000 as required by the loan agreement. I have missed something. I don't know what. 85 plus 50 less 35 for the purchase, less 40 less 75. I get a negative 15 balance, which, what did I miss? In my inflows, I have taken this figure 50, which is wrong because what you sell in Jan, it is collected in March. So just simply replace 50 in the arrangement with the 60, you will get the right answer. 60, 85 is the opening balance. The purchase in Jan is paid in Feb. Purchase in Feb is paid in March. And then these 75. Now you should get the right answer. These are the right numbers. And your closing balance as per the company's policy should be 5. So if you find the balancing figure, you will find this to be 10, and that makes C to be the correct option. So that's it. I said very unlikely you will be tested in a comprehensive cash budget question. What you must be very fluent at is how to calculate the individual cash inflows in each month, what you call the projected cash collection schedule. This is 100% sure you will be tested on this area. At least a couple of questions involving the projected cash collection calculations. And cash budget is very unlikely, but I think we have covered quite an extensive type of questions on cash budgeting, and I think it should be sufficient enough to enable you to answer any question of that type.